Hey, it's Jack, and this video is called Why Do Men Ghost You? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here or coming back, I'm glad that you're here. Please hit subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel. I release videos several times a week on personal growth, self-development, dating, and how we can be better in our relating together. So I'd love to have you as part of this journey. So this video is going to be real talk. This is an unscripted video. I'm kind of going to unleash here. I might be talking a little bit faster than usual. I got a lot to say. Please stay to the end because I think the last thing I have to say will also have a lot of value for you. So why do men ghost you? Let's just start by saying if you've had this experience, it can be incredibly confusing, disorienting, and painful, and it can leave you confused and overanalyzing. So if any of that's true, I feel for you. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of ghosting and not like it. And I think what I've got in this video is going to help you. So the main thing I want to say right off the bat, why do men ghost you? Men ghost you because of their reasons, right? Let me say that again. Men ghost you because of their reasons, right? Meaning this is not about you. So if you take nothing from this video, that when someone ghosts you, it's not about you, that would be a useful thing to take from this video. Now, that doesn't mean that it might not sting. It doesn't mean that it might not hurt, but just starting to really understand people, let's move the camera around, hey! People ghost you for their reasons, right? People ghost you because of what's going on in their own life, because they don't have the courage to speak what's true, because they've had the experience of sharing with someone why they don't want to continue a connection and getting counter ghosted or getting tough feedback. So there are many reasons why people might ghost you, and we can get into it. But the main thing is what's going to stop you internalizing it as what did I do wrong? Or how am I not good enough? Or where did I fall short? Or what do I need to do differently? I really want to impress upon you that, in the same way we say hurt people, right? And that's not about you. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt when someone hurts you, but it means you could spend a lot of time thinking about what did I do? And I want to try to really get you out of that mindset, right? It's almost a mindset of over empathy, over responsibility, over people pleasing, or what in simplistic speak we call being over there. And your life goes better when you come back over here and you stand more in your own energy, your own frame, your own backbone, and get less manipulated by the need to work out what someone else is doing. Now, if you've been relating with someone for a long period of time and then they ghost you, that is going to be exponentially more difficult. So I'm just going to put that situation aside for a moment. A lot of times when people are talking about ghosting, what they mean is something similar than I just experienced fairly recently, right? I was on a dating app with someone. We were going back and forth chatting. Seemed like we had some good rapport. I generally prefer to not chat for too long. You get more information if you meet in person or get them a video call. I invited them to coffee. They said, that's great. We went a little bit back and forth on finding a time. We found a time. I said, I'm just going to need to double confirm in the morning because I'm feeling a bit migraine-y and I just want to make sure that I'm well enough to come. That was good. I hit back in the morning and then I didn't hear anything. And so at some point I decided, you know what, I'm going to send a quick clarifying text here. I need you to confirm in the next 5 to 10 minutes or I'm going to move on with my day. And then I never heard anything else. So I got ghosted, so no one's above this, right? Like we can all be in this world where people, because of their own reasons, can decide to be in touch or not. Now, I could spend a lot of energy trying to work out, well, what really happened there? Were they actually interested? Did they fall asleep? Did they meet someone better? Are they a space cadet when it comes to time in their calendar? Is it because of their nationality? I could go on, but unless that person really wanted to have a genuine debrief conversation, which by the way is typically not at all available in these situations, most of that energy isn't going to get me anywhere, right? It's not going to further my learning. If someone wants to say, hey, I ghosted you because, and I'm going to apologize and be sorry and get curious, you can engage in that, but this is really a fantasy conversation. I don't believe that this is typically available in these instances. And typically you hurt yourself more if you go after that, right? If you're like, hey, are you still there? Hey, why did you ghost me? If someone's gonna get back to you, you can leave that in their court, right? Or you can just decide actually, hey, let's unmatch, block, and kind of take the power back from your side. But the key maneuver is not that you personalize what is impersonal, right? Think about it. In this situation, this is someone that you, like I, have never met, and they've never met me, they've never met you. So they don't really know anything about you. So the notion that this is personal to you is kind of crazy. Now, it might activate your rejection wound, right? Because the vast majority of us, somewhere on the spectrum of I hate to feel rejected, have a rejection wound. And this is your wake-up call, because the rejection wound is an invitation to your self-love. I'll say that again. Your rejection wound is an invitation to your self-love. We can try to get around having a rejection wound to rearrange the furniture of the world, or if you're a woman that dates men, to rearrange men so that they never do anything that activates your rejection wound. But then it's always there and you're always liable to it. So it's better to notice, there's something that I need to work on in me, right? I'm overly sensitive to other people's desire to be with me, spend time with me, like me, love me, approve of me, right? Now, often within that liability, there will also be a gift, right? Your sensitivity to other people may be a gift in many contexts. So we're going to see that and love on it. But in this place called rejection, you might have some work to do. And this stuff might have got set up very early in your life. It might have even been, as a toddler, or as the very first feelings of affect that you have in relationship to another, which is normally mum or a primary caregiver, that it can sometimes get set up that you are particularly sensitive to this experience of rejection. And it might go with things like, did I do something wrong? Might be a dominant unconscious question that you go to very quickly. What did I do wrong? Right? Because that little one in you needed and wanted that connection with mum. And when that connection wasn't available because mum wasn't attuned to you, or mum had other things going on, or fill in the blanks, there was nothing that you probably could have done about that experience. And you don't have a way to ask for your needs as we do now in our adult worlds. So you're really at the whim of whether someone is paying attention to you. But that's not true any longer, right? You might have an experience that feels similar than that, but you are actually able to process it differently. And this is profound transformational work, right? This is something that will change your life. And I'm not prone to hyperbole. If you hang around on this channel, I have a reputation for being straight shooting and sober and objective as best I can, and inviting that and calling forth in other people. You relaxing your rejection wound doesn't mean that you'll never have an experience called I feel rejected, but you can hugely turn the volume down on that, and you can stop the mental spinning out that happens, where when you experience that rejection, you start to do a strange dance called I did something wrong, I've got to walk on eggshells, I need to get the other person back, I need to understand where did they go, what did they do. And I'm here to tell you that there's at least a part of you in existence right now that doesn't need that same level of confirmation from another person. Of course, you may like it when it's available. You may like it when another person likes, loves, approves of you. You may like it and another person cares if you're having an experience called I feel rejected. And there's a part of your development here to say, let's not walk around in a world that is through the lens of rejection, right? Meaning that there's an unconscious part of you that walks in the world that imagines you to be kind and sweet and innocent and pure or something like that, and other people to be at times hard, difficult, mean, perpetrating, right? Which is not to say that people can't be all those things, right? This is where this gets nuanced. But if you're already always with that kind of filter and sensitivity, you're likely to be hypnotized to experiences that confirm it. So when someone is rejecting you, and by the way, a lot of the times that we feel rejected is not because that's the principal intention that someone has. Even when someone is ghosting you, they may not be doing that within a definite desire to have you experience rejection, right? Which is, again, another reason to impersonalize this, right? You don't know what someone else's intention is. And if someone is actively and consistently trying to reject you, that is likely a person that is living in a difficult place, right? Which doesn't excuse every bad behavior, but it also helps you understand if someone is really actively trying to reject you, that's probably not a great person for you to be relating with. That's probably not the person that's going to help you relax this wounding, right? Your best way to relax this wounding is to go to work on yourself and get curious if you are living within a reality that is primed for this rejector-rejectee way of looking at reality. And sometimes there's a part of you that is a self-rejecting part of you that has this rejection wound kind of turning up the volume on it, right? So you can also get curious, what are the ways that I reject myself? What are the ways that I reject parts of my experience that I don't want to acknowledge are true for me, right? Because maybe at times I have difficult feelings towards other people, or maybe I feel mean, or maybe there's times where I actually want to say something to someone else that I don't because I have a self-image that says I'm a kind, good person, but yet I'm having to kind of discount a set of my experience that doesn't line up with my self-image. Do you get a sense of this? You might not know in this moment how to relax your rejection wound. For most of us, that is work through time. And it might be that it never fully goes away, but you are drastically in a new life when you turn the volume down on it. But as I often say to my clients, in self-development work, you don't have to know the how right now. What you have to know is that you've got a curiosity and a desire to do some work on this, right? And if, by the way, click the first link beneath the video. If you want to have a one-on-one with me directly and get into conversation about this, grab a slot on my calendar if there's one still available. So why did he ghost you? Isn't necessarily worth that much energy, because there are 1,001 reasons why a guy may ghost you. And even if he were consciously aware of which one of those 1,001 reasons, the likelihood that he's going to communicate that to you is slim to none. And by the way, the likelihood that he's fully accurate may even be slim to none, right? Meaning that many of us, myself included, at times we do things unconsciously, or we do things that we have a partial awareness of why we're doing it, but we don't have the full awareness of every conscious and unconscious part of ourselves that drives our behavior. So you're looking for that because part of you wants to feel reassured, or part of you wants to confirm a negative belief you have about yourself that you're not worthy of his attention, or you're not worthy of a date, or you're not good enough to get the attention of a man, or that you did something wrong. And that part of you is going in overdrive to think, well, can I figure out what I did wrong? Because then I will correct that. And so, because I don't want to experience this rejection again. And it still keeps you on this kind of victimhood loop vis-a-vis your own rejection. We actually want to get you to step off that by a much deeper inquiry into what is rejection. Is it really true that the world neatly divides into rejectors and rejectees, into victims and perpetrators? Is there actually a way of being that is bigger than that? Right? Again, this doesn't mean that you have to stay in a situation where someone's ghosting you. You can cut that stuff off quickly, and I would actually encourage you to do that. Typically, if someone's ghosted you once and it's early on in a connection with them, unless they're coming back and they're making a real apology that feels true to you, even then, even if it's like, I accept your apology and that just doesn't work great for me, right? So this is part of you reclaiming your power. I work with a lot of clients on this territory. How do you reclaim your power? Why are you being nice to this person that isn't showing up for you? Why are you having to have the sleepless nights and the over-analysis for a person that you met on a dating app that won't even remember your name, right? So I'm not saying this to be harsh to you. I'm saying this is real talk. The vast majority of people that you connect with in dating are not going to be in your life a week, a month, a year, certainly longer than that from now, right? So of course, would it be better if we had an understood set of code on dating apps that we all kind of sign up to and we all try to treat each other great? Yeah, I think that would be better. But we've also got to meet life in sobriety, in reality of what is actually here and what is actually happening. Ghosting doesn't need to be so terrifying for you, because there is also a liberation that happens in ghosting where it provides a kind of clarity about who this person is to you. And you don't even need to get into too much bad thinking about that other person. It can just recur to you, this reveals that this person is not a good person for you to be relating with, right? Even if, let's give them the full benefit of the doubt, that the reason that they ghosted you was because they got caught up in a hurricane and they have no communications, right? Or their mother got terminally ill and they had to fly 32 hours around the world to go take care of her. Even in that latter situation, you'll probably find that if someone is going to be a good person for you to connect with, you would hear something from them, right? Even if it's like a 2-sentence thing that says, so sorry, gotta go see my mom, talk soon, right? Or even if after 3 days of dropping everything, there's just a little message that says, can't talk, but we'll hit you back, right? There's some minimum effective amount of responsiveness. And if that's not available, thank you, universe. Thank you. You're providing me with information that this isn't a good person for me to relate with. And I now get to practice staying in my sovereignty, that I'm not going to slip into and I'm a bad person and I'm not good enough and this always happens to me. You're not a victim of ghosting. You're a victim of ghosting when you let it take you down that path and you start overthinking and self-criticizing and self-analyzing. When someone ghosts you, if you actually have a relatively neutral response and leave it over there with them, right? Thank you for the clarity. Okay, even if that stings, I can deal with that. It's everything else that you're doing that makes you the victim of ghosting, right? Particularly in these instances where you don't have a real connection with the person. And I would even submit to you that if it's someone that you've known for a long period of time and then they ghost you, maybe you didn't even really know them that much anyway, right? Or maybe they're revealing to you something that's more true than a lot of the partial truths that you've been metabolizing in the course of relating with them, right? The fact that they're willing to cut you off. People have a right to keep you in their life or not. And if you've had a real heart connection with someone and they can't bring themselves to say, hey, I need to downshift our connection, or hey, this might be hard for you to hear, but you're not going to be hearing from me because of XYZ. Typically, if someone cares for you, even if they imagine some kind of future where you guys aren't together and actually they need to fully clear their field because they need to be romantically available to someone else, let's say, normally there can be a downshifting through time, which means it's not a ghosting, right? And many of you listening to this, even if it's hard that someone doesn't want to be with you, you would be okay with that, right? Just talk to me, relate with me, give me the graciousness of having a coffee, right? And I'm in your corner. I think that would be great. It's just, it turns out in reality, just like criminals, just like we have unconscious parts, just like the world can be a difficult place, there are people who are going to ghost and aren't going to be able to give you a reason why they're doing that and are going to be unavailable to you, right? And here's the kicker, and I've had this experience personally, and maybe you have. When there's someone who you've been relating with for a while and then they ghost you, you may have noticed that there's part of you that perhaps at some level knew or had curiosity about whether this was a good person for you to connect with, right? Maybe there was too much difference and you were downplaying the difference because you wanted to connect with them. Or maybe you had a strong energetic or social, sexual connection, but you didn't really have an emotional, intellectual, or spiritual connection. Or maybe they were kind of hot and cold, and then this was like the ultimate cold, but you kind of knew there was something that wasn't quite right in the way that you were relating. So I don't say that for you to be hard on yourself. I say that for you to continue to cultivate that relationship with your intuition, because it might have you less surprised. Now, if you're saying to me, there was no idea, clue I had at all about this person, and then one day they just ghosted me, I feel for you. That sounds incredibly difficult, and that would risk eroding at a sense of trust that you might have in yourself and relating with other people. And obviously we don't want it to have that, right? So, this may be an opportunity for you to look at what kind of questions and ways of interacting with someone you have when you date them. Because you could even put on the table like, hey, if at any point you no longer want to get to know me, I have a request for you. And that is that you just let me know. Like, I'm a big girl, or if you're listening to this in a man, I'm a big boy. I value the truth. I value the truth of your perspective. That would just be good for me. Now, again, that doesn't 100% insulate you from having this experience, but it does let your desire be known. And I think it might decrease the likelihood that this happens. And it also gets you in touch with, what are the things that I need and that are true for me? Because sometimes the pattern here is that you're under communicating what you want, need, and value, and what helps you feel safe and connected in relationships. So this might be the opportunity for you. And by the way, this is not just romantic relationships. Some of you watching right now will have had the experience of being ghosted by a friend, and sometimes that can be equally as confusing or dismaying. And it's also clarifying, right? Because if this person, at the risk of subjectifying them, right? I'm breaking one of my own rules here, because I generally encourage people to have the minimum assumption possible about other people and maximum curiosity about what their actual lived experience is. The challenge with the ghoster is, because they take themselves out of the equation, you don't get to sit down and be curious with them, right? So in that instance where you don't get the right to be curious because someone's not available to you, I think we can break our own rules, and we might just have to subjectify a little bit and say, presumably that person either doesn't have a minimum of respect for you, or really, let's just say it more truthfully, a minimum of respect for themselves, because it's also self-respecting to be able to say to someone, hey, I want to actually tell you what's true for me, even though this is difficult and inconvenient. So again, you could take this on as, do they respect me enough? I would love you actually, as I think about it, to leave it over there with them and say, interesting that they are not self-respecting enough to value making this kind of communication with me, right? Or, and this may be true, they don't actually have that skill set, right? For whatever reason. Something got triggered in them that reminds them of their father wound and they just had to not be in touch, right? Or someone did this to them back in the day and so it got internalized that this is actually okay behavior. We don't know what the story is. Again, we don't want to waste too much time wondering what people's stories are when they're not fully available to share them with us. So I would just invite you to, in the absence of that, fill in with, this person didn't either have the tools or the self-respect to be able to communicate this to me. And actually that's kind of sad, right? Because who wants to be the person going around ghosting other people? In your heart of hearts, I don't think anyone wants to be that person, you know? So please leave me a comment. Let me know, what is your experience? How is this landing? You're welcome to push back. Keep it clean and constructive. This is a really fantastic community of people who are up-leveling their development, but are also doing it in constructive ways so that we can all learn from each other. So please leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'm Jack. Thanks for being here.